In the first scene, we saw a boy flying in the back of a big dragon. The dragon called the boy as Hadar and informed that they had almost reached the academy. The aerial view was mesmerizing, and there was a town visible from there. The dragon told Hadar that from then on he would be in a place with a lot of people. Hadar was abandoned in a mountain, as a sacrifice, just after his birth. He was raised by a legendary ancient dragon until the age of 12. Hadar was wondering what unknown things were waiting for him ahead, but the dragon knew that Hadar didn't know anything about the wonders coming along. He was destined to find himself in the unknown city after coming down. Among all the living beings, the ancient dragons had exceptionally high magical power. For this reason, they were feared as the most powerful being in the world. One day, an old, long-forgotten dragon was experiencing a new emotion. The dragon felt like his body was trembling and wondered if it was fear. It was impossible, as those feelings were abandoned by dragons. In the thousands of years the dragons had lived, it never happened. The dragon first wondered what he did wrong, but soon realized that it was aging. It was not the time for sulking things or thinking foolish, but it was irresistible. Throughout history, only the human race possesses the ability to compete with dragons. It was possible because humans had unparalleled advanced magical control ability. Dragons were advanced in quantity with big bodies, but humans were rich in quality. They had magic manipulation ability. The abandoned human baby, rescued by the dragon, also possessed half of the magical power of the dragon. It was far more than any average dragon ability. The dragon calculated that the baby could master advanced human magic in future. He wondered how the baby would become an unbelievable monster if he could also invoke the magic power of dragons. While the dragon was busy thinking about it, the baby laughed. The baby probably thought that the dragon was trying to play with him. It was a basic human tendency to consider the first thing they see to be their parents. The dragon decided to raise that baby boy so that it would be better to have allies with him when he would grow as strong. There was a hope in the dragon that one day the boy would work on some life extension magic. It was ironic for such a giant and strongest creature to trust their future on a baby. The baby boy was then named Hadar and the dragon, and hoped for better. When the dragon realized that the human baby was hungry, they transformed into human mother form. She was looking young and pretty as human and breastfed the baby. After the feeding, Hadar seemed to have a spike of energy. The little baby started running, which shocked the mother dragon. She tried to warn him about the tree he was about to hit, but couldn't succeed. The roots and all of the tree were blown away by Hadar, which was another shock for the dragon. She was determined to use his power. Time flew by and Hadar became 4 years old. He stopped eating breast milk and the mama dragon was still wanting him to do that. Hadar suggested that it was not good anymore and expressed how he wanted to learn stuff. There were a lot of things to teach, so the mother dragon chose to start from teaching how to use magic. Hadar was so excited to learn magic and to do things his mother dragon could do. The dragon said that it was too early to teach him magic like dragon breath. She suggested teaching him a magic circle first, which was useful for all kinds of magic. The problem was that technique was hard to master. Even for dragons, it took 2 years. Hadar insisted once more, and she couldn't resist more. The dragon mother decided to teach him the method. She showed Hadar a circular symbol for dragon's breath. He was said that if he could visualize that symbol and direct his attention in the shooting direction, it would be done. She explained how the magic moves on its own and how he must shoot it towards the sky unlike the ground. Hadar was a magic prodigy, and he did it perfectly in his very first attempt. It blew the mind of the dragon mother. She was so accomplished as a dragon, but it took her time to master at the beginning. She was mesmerized by the ability of Hadar. After that, Hadar was trained by his dragon mother and started growing. Time passed by and he had learnt a lot of magic. He practiced with the mother, and after 6 years he was able to control magic by his ability. There was nothing much left to teach him by the dragon. One day she explained that she would teach him the last magic circle, which was even hard to control by her. It was none other than life extension magic, and she wanted Hadar to cast that on her. Hadar was freaked out at first and asked if she was going to die. She said she only had just 477 years. But Hadar didn't know that it's just 5 years in human equivalent. Still, he decided to do whatever his mother asked and started activating the life expansion magic. In no time, the dragon felt lighter and her lifespan extended. She was happy that Hadar fully fulfilled her wish and asked him to keep doing the magic. In a few moments, the dragon mother was full and she gained a lot of life years. She said that Hadar had grown up so much and called him a sweet child and lifesaver. Hadar declined and said that he still had a long way to go. He also explained the dragon mother is actually the lifesaver for him. Hadar had memories from before he was abandoned in the mountains. The adults called him Imiko, which meant a cursed child. He didn't know the meaning then, but remembered the scared faces. Hadar said that if his mother, the dragon, had not saved him, he wouldn't be alive by them. The mother dragon was impressed and told him that he had grown up to become a smooth talker. She hugged her little boy out of love, but Hadar said it was hurting him. 2 more years passed and Hadar became 12 years old. He was waiting for his mother to return home and doing his daily routine chores. The mom dragon was also thinking if Hadar was doing good while she was out of the mountain. She was imagining how Hadar might miss her since she was away for 3 days. Suddenly, a dragon flash welcomed her, and it was none other than Hadar. With that sudden magic, she fell down on the ground. She asked Hadar about it, and he explained how he was increasing his concentration of the dragon's breath shape of the beam. Hadar wanted to practice it together with his mother, but she couldn't do rapid shots like him. Hadar noticed that all the papers were scattered in the ground and asked if he created the mess. The mother said that it was all the documents she collected carefully. The mother knew how Hadar wanted to travel and learn new things, so she was a way to collect means for that. She showed him an exam ticket and said that she would give him the ticket after he prepared for the exam for 1 month. She asked him to study hard for the entrance of Royal Magic Academy. Hadar was happy, as he always wanted to join the academy once he turned 12. His mother dragon also knew that in his future he would come down from the mountains and would get a chance to interact with people. Hadar was first scared as he didn't prepare anything for the exam, but his mother had trust in him. She said if he could not pass, then no one would pass also, and handed him some mock test papers. Hadar then had no choice and started studying hard. While solving the mock test, he realized that it was just stuff from a book his mother made him read in the past. It was the easiest book among all the books she had given to him. He felt like the exam would be easy to handle. The mother dragon was watching Hadar studying from behind the door. She had seen him doing so many difficult tasks before, and it was adorable for her. But she was also afraid that if he made it to the academy, she would have less time to see him. She remembered how Hadar was just an abandoned baby 12 years ago, who was found by one of the most powerful energy creatures ever lived. In the 12 years, Hadar transformed that creature that is the dragon to a doting patent. She told Hadar that the books she had given him were all fake and asked to burn them. Hadar understood that feeling and said that he would not pass anyway. The mother reconciled her senses and said that Hadar would have to take his chances. She offered hard breast milk again, but unfortunately there was no spigot to drink it. The mother dragon and Hadar had reached the Royal Academy, and they were watching the area from above the clouds. Since the dragon was in her dragon form, she realized that she might scare other humans. Hadar suggested that he would use flight magic for smooth landing from that point onwards. The dragon asked him to be careful, and he got off the back of his mom. He landed in front of the gate of the Zelgwei's Royal Academy of Magic. It was the place where his new life was going to start if he could pass the exam. He was clueless and didn't know whom he should show his exam ticket to. Hadar didn't know if she'd go inside the gate and wondered if he would be expelled for trespassing. If that happens, he would not be able to get into the academy or show his face to his mother. He was so panicked by thinking about the scene, but suddenly someone called him. It was a girl with spackles and asked about the matter. Hadar explained how he was looking for the registration desk and there was no one in the gate. The girl said that it was all right and Hadar didn't understand anything. She explained that it was just an entrance gate and showed him the main entrance, which was behind the gate. She said that registration would be at the main entrance, and Hadar asked if it was okay to go without permission. The girl asked if he thought otherwise, and Hadar agreed. She smiled in response and asked if he was from the countryside. Hadar told her that he was from a remote mountain area, and this was all new to him. The girl then offered to guide him around, and they went to the registration desk. From there, she knew that both she and Hadar were allotted the same room. Their numbers were just 1 apart, and she considered it to be fate. In the classroom, the teacher announced the beginning of the written exam. She asked the students to pass back the papers to the person behind them. When the girl Hadar met passed the paper to him, Hadar thanked her for the guidance. The girl said they should help others when someone is in need and wished both of them all the best. After the first exam was over, the helpful girl asked Hadar about it. Hadar said that it was somewhat nerve-wracking as he imagined, and the girl also agreed that the atmosphere was different. Hadar said how the questions were similar to those in the practice ones for all the 6 subjects. The girl was shocked and shouted suddenly. She said that they only needed 2 required and 2 optional subjects to study. She couldn't grasp why Hadar studied 6 subjects when there were only 4 needed. Hadar said that he was nervous and didn't want to miss anything, but the girl wondered if it was okay to solve extra things. Hadar then said how he was nervous in the test and couldn't get time to revise more than 5 times. All his words made the girl shocked, and she asked to leave for the sword exams. Hadar felt that she was a little down and asked if everything was okay. When the 2 of them reached, they noticed 2 men practicing swords. It was a swordsmanship second test, and after the fight was over, the person who was taking the test called for the next candidate. Hadar thought that he had messed up the written exam and assumed that there was a system for scoring in the fights. The girl said that it was impossible to win, but they had to do that somehow. For the swordsmanship test, there were several competition fields, and they were allocated based on the exam numbers. Both Hadar and the girl were allocated in different places, so they had to get separated. Hadar suddenly noticed that a boy had his own sword, and it was not just one student but everyone had their own. He didn't know about the unspoken agreement, and he feared that he would be kicked out for not preparing enough for the rest. Hadar was so nervous, and he went on his knees in front of the examiner. He explained his situation of not having a sword and asked for forgiveness. The examiner told him to use the loner swords that were prepared to use. He showed him a rack and asked Hadar to pick any sword. Hadar showed someone panicking as the swords were not good, and he wondered if all the swords were like that. He asked the teacher if he could make a sword for the test, as there were no suitable swords for him. The teacher thought for a second and allowed Hadar, as it was not against any rule. The teacher considered Hadar to be one of the students who exploited a loophole in the rules. He didn't expect Hadar to be successful in the attempt. On the other hand, Hadar was ready to make a sturdy sword by combining two special things. The teacher noticed Hadar doing something with air or magic power but couldn't understand what. When the sword appeared, the examiner was more surprised and shouted in shock. Hadar was confused with that reaction but was satisfied with the quality of that sword. The examiner then asked if Hadar was ready to fight and thanked him in advance. This time a new fate was awaiting for the examiner. He realized that Hadar had good movement and speed. Even though he knew that Hadar was different from other examinees, he didn't think that Hadar would withstand his full strength. Something miraculous happened suddenly, which no one ever imagined. The girl, who Hadar met first, was looking at him. Her test went faster than she had imagined, and she was looking for Hadar. She was wondering if he was struggling in the sword test, as he had put all his efforts into studying. In reality, the sword of the examiner broke the very moment it touched the sword of Hadar. The examiner was shocked and sad to see this, and Hadar apologized for the incident. The girl asked what Hadar did, and he explained the situation. She wondered if there was something wrong with Hadar's sword, but he mentioned how he had made alchemized and made it on the spot. The girl was shocked to hear all these and wanted to check it, but the sword was too heavy to carry. She wanted to know the material used, and Hadar said that it was made of orichalcum and adamantite alloy. The girl had no idea about that metal, so he explained how he used alchemy to build this. She was shocked and asked why he needed to get into a school with that much knowledge. The examiner was listening to his explanation and was amazed. He knew that it was not easy even for master craftsmen to make a sword from that metal and wondered how it broke his sword. The examiner calculated the weight of the sword, and Hadar said that it would be around 65 kg. While telling the weight, he was swinging it in the air, which scared both the examiner and the girl. Hadar was told that he won the match and asked him to leave for the next test. Hadar thought he messed up the match and wanted a rematch, but the examiner asked him to leave. The girl was amazed to be in a place she always admired, that is the Sergius Royal Academy. It had both name and reality, and the graduates of that institute were well established. She was wondering if she would get a chance to fulfill her dream of getting admitted into that academy. Suddenly she noticed Hohe Hadar was panicking, and she comforted him by telling how he was the only one to defeat the examiner. It couldn't make Hadar calm as he thought that he might get kicked out for that incident. The girl then suggested that he focus on the next test. The third exam was a magic test, and it had two different testing methods. The first one was hitting the target, which was an attack magic test. The second one was creating magical items, which was a creativity test. The girl wanted to go safe and choose attack magic. She had practiced it before, and she was not skilled at creating things. Hadar on the other side decided to pick the creativity test. There were 30 bonus creative points in the test. He didn't want to miss that chance to come back and ignored the girl's advice. She explained how the score was decided by the examiner and how they make it difficult to score high. Hadar had taken account of that, but still decided to take the chance, so the girl stopped. While leaving, she warned Hadar not to make an item that doesn't have any chance. Since the two chose different tests, they had to leave one another. Before leaving, the girl said that her name was Cecilia, and they both were happy to meet each other. Hadar wished to be in the same class, and Cecilia stated that Hadar already guessed to be accepted. Hadar went to the magic test, and it was a room for magic item creation. The examiner was unhappy to see less people again and did not understand why. He was hoping for more students, and he had arranged the bonus point system to attract students. He was disappointed to see his idea failing and got ready to start the test. He asked the examinees to make magical items by using the magical stones given to them. He also mentioned that the other materials were available in the back of the classroom and asked to use them as they like. Hadar realized that the quality of those stones were good, and he was ready to make anything. He wanted to create the best possible thing so that he could get a creative point bonus. He thought to make up for the mess he created in the swords test with this and remembered Cecilia's face. Hadar was determined to pass and started working on it. It was the next day, and in the staff room people were discussing the entrance test. A male and a female teacher were pointing at Hadar's photo. They described how he had gotten a perfect score in the written test, where the passing rate was just 65%. Hadar had even answered the 2 extra subjects, and there also he got full marks. They also talked about the alchemized sword Hadar had made at the test. The two teachers were shocked and wondered if Hadar was really a human child. Suddenly, another man came to them and asked to listen. He informed the two about how one student from the last exam had made a gravity manipulation device. The man was excited and shocked. The two teachers guessed that it was also Hadar who made it. The magic test teacher wanted to award Hadar with 10 extra credits over the usual 30 points. Hadar was indeed a special student for them, who had scored the highest since the academy was established. Hadar, on the other hand, was unaware of the situation. He thought that he had messed up everything and was panicked. His mother was glad for a second to think that he would never leave him for the academy if he failed. It was 2 days after the results were announced. Hadar was there in the cafeteria of that academy. It was almost empty, and it seemed like only students who were there to enroll were there. Suddenly he sees Cecilia, and it brightens up the mind of both. Since she was there in that school, Hadar assumed that she passed the test, and Cecilia knew that it was easy for Hadar to pass. She was talking with him in honor and said that Hadar was one of the special students of that year. He was panicked at first, but soon realized that Cecilia was just kidding. He wanted the helpful girl version to be present there and showed irritation. Hadar suddenly noticed an internship opportunity at a company named Bamboo Construction for actual work experience. He remembered how his mother advised him to focus on gakuchika and how he would need to put efforts to accomplish great things. He was ready to work, and Cecilia considered Hadar's mom to be a wonderful person. Hadar said that he would try and apply for the internship as he had no prior experience. While leaving, Cecilia asked Hadar not to do any things like he did on the entrance test. Suddenly, a beautiful girl crossed by, and Hadar praised her beauty in his head. Cecilia noticed that thing and wondered if he was attracted to girls of those kinds. After 5 days, Hadar received an internship offer and he visited the headquarters of that construction company. He explained how he was motivated by his mother to gain experience and showed how much he was interested in the vision and works of that company. A man greeted them and handed over some documents and asked them to look at those before actual site works. While reading those documents, Hadar realized that the ground floor was made of orichalcum adamantite alloy, whereas the first floor was made of mithril orichalcum alloy. His observation made the man happy, and he said that it was expected from an academy student. Everyone was shocked as he was the President Wright of that company. Wright said that he wanted to meet those interns in person. To answer Hadar, he explained how they need to consider budgets while constructing. He further said that adamantite was precious and expensive metal, and so it was avoided for the upper floors. Hadar said that it was easy to make adamantite, but the president couldn't agree to it. To convince Wright, Hadar created a block of adamantite which shocked the president. He tested it by weighing to see if it was real or not. Hadar said that they would need a lot more for construction, and that way the material cost would become almost zero. The president couldn't understand where the adamantite came from and wondered if Hadar was a magician. Hadar tried to explain the technology he used, but it was too much for the president to understand those terms. The president then asked the boy his name. The president told Hadar that he couldn't recruit Hadar as an intern, and with the skills he got, President Wright wanted to offer him a business partnership. Though the president wanted to discuss the things, it was clear that he didn't want to hear a no from Hadar. He clearly stated how he didn't want to lose him and suggested moving to the warehouse. As expected, it was a big spacious hall which amazed Hadar. The president then asked Hadar about how much alloy Hadar could make. Hadar first calculated it to be about thousands of carts worth, which again shocked the president. He could not believe if that was possible, but was convinced after a small line from Hadar. The boy wondered if the president imagined an unbelievably huge cart, but it was not the case. The President Wright then came to business and asked Hadar to make 250 tons of orichalcum adamantite for that day, and requested totals of 750 tons. He was offered 3.7 kukurus, which was unbelievable for Hadar. He wondered if it was okay to take so much money for small work, but the president said that it was worth it. Within a second or two, Hadar created piles of the alloy in front of them. The president was so amazed that he ran towards somewhere. On the run, Wright even spilled coffee on some employees' clothes. He had to apologize and offer to buy clothes later for the employee. In no time, the president came back running and handed the money to Hadar. It was 3.7 billion kukurus in pure gold coins, and it was so much in Hadar's eyes. He decided to keep them aside by using storage magic. The president ensured if Hadar was happy with the payment and stated that it was his responsibility to give Hadar satisfaction. He even asked Hadar for more spare time in the future, and Hadar was still in shock. He guessed that being president was harder and appreciated the interaction. President Wright explained that paycheck gets increased with how much one grows, but mental stress also increases with that. Hadar then said that Wright was carrying the future of all the employees and families on his shoulder. Suddenly he remembered about his mother dragon and hoped that she was doing well. Hadar praised the president for being a remarkable business leader, and Wright said that it was always his dream as he believed that employees were the real assets. Two strange young humans, one boy and a girl, were waiting for the president in the hall. President asked if they were the other interns but apologized as there were no further requirements. The two said that they wanted to meet the president alone, and Wright wondered what they would want. The boy said that it was inefficient to work hard for little gain. The girl then explained how they found out the poster of the internship and had a brilliant idea. Suddenly they jumped over President Wright and said that if they could kidnap him, they would be able to make a fortune in ransom money. Before they could even touch the president, Hadar casted atomic conversion which made a wall between the kidnapper and Mr. Wright. The girl hit it and fell on the ground, and the boy was also panicked. Hadar told them how President Wright is a considerate and kind soul, whom Hadar respects a lot. He praised the bond Wright shared with his employees and was ready to make the kidnappers his enemies. The both kidnapper was laying on the ground, freaked out and panicked. Hadar asked if the president was injured, but Wright said that he was not. Hadar impressed the president Wright already, and he wondered how much talent Hadar might have. The security guys came after all this and asked about the tremendous noise. President said that there was a little trouble, but Hadar solved it. 1 month was gone, and it was the times for the academy to start. They were congratulated for enrollment. Hadar met Cecilia again in the class, which means they were in the same class. Both of them were happy to reunite and greeted one another. Cecilia asked Hadar about the internship, and he informed how he got a job offer. She was happy and said that Hadar was so intelligent that she is not even shocked at his achievement. Hadar, on the other hand, politely said that it was just beginner's luck. Cecilia said that she would consider him to be a special student, which embarrassed Hadar again. Hadar decided to stay grounded and work hard. He was living in the mountains his whole life, so he had decided to spend time with people and get along with them well. A student approached Hadar and asked if he was the special student. At first Hadar was hesitant, but said yes. The student was glad to find him and said that he wanted Hadar to do something for him. It shocked Hadar and he freaked out. Cecilia asked Hadar about the first thing he planned to do when school started. Hadar said it was to take over the students' council and build that harem. The student with long hair was asked what he wanted from Hadar. He held Hadar's hand and said that he wanted Hadar to make an adamantite dumbbell. Hadar was shocked, so the student explained that he was into strength training and every dumbbell he had used was light to him. He was swinging the dumbbells around, which freaked out Hadar and Cecilia. He felt like there was no challenge left for him, and one day he saw Hadar making a sword and defeating the examiner. Cecilia called that exam legendary, which further embarrassed Hadar. Cecilia wanted to know more about the exam from the new student, and Hadar asked them not to be so excited. The student said that he didn't want the dumbbells for free, and was ready to make sure to express gratitudes properly. Cecilia was also on his side and asked Hadar to do it. Hadar asked in stress why she was on the other side but decided to do the work anyway. Hadar then made 3 different weights just like the student had requested. He was so happy to have dumbbells of weight and loved it. Cecilia and Hadar were also happy with that. Hadar then tried to find something, and Cecilia and the student knew that it was storage magic. Hadar showed them a device which the other two had no idea about. With the help of that machine, Hadar was able to flow the dumbbells in air. They wondered what it was, and Hadar explained that it was the gravity manipulator. He said he could give it to that student, but the student warned him that it was not something to give away like freebies. While the 3 were busy doing those things, the teacher came and asked everyone to take their seats. All of them freaked out and apologized. The teacher introduced herself as Professor Ciel and asked everyone to give their introduction. After some students, it was the turn for that cute girl Hadar and Cecilia saw on the admission day. The new student told Hadar that she was ridiculously cute. The girl said that her name was Jasmine Valavari. She was there to learn things so that she could help her father, the future president of the bamboo construction. Hadar was amazed by her look and connections. The new student noticed it and asked if Hadar wanted to give her a shot, but Hadar refused by mentioning how it would affect his work. He also reminded the student that it was now his turn. The student said that his name was Ian Zelgius and his hobby was working out. He also mentioned that he was the first prince of that country. Hader's jaw dropped in surprise and said that Ian should have started the introduction with the prince line. After Ian, it was Hadar's turn to introduce himself. He said how he was from deep in the mountains, but the teacher seemed to know about his impressive qualities beforehand. Hader was actually nervous that he wouldn't stand out after the introduction of Prince and President's daughter. In free time, Hadar was reading a book about magical elements having both wave and particle nature. Ian approached him and asked to do some muscle training with him. Hadar was so busy in reading that he didn't hear it, and Ian asked about the book he was reading. It was a book about the relationship between magic elements and waves, and Hader was thinking if one could nullify magic with anti-phase magic. Ian had no idea what Hader was talking about, and asked Hader to simplify it to him. Hader tried to make it easier by comparing the magical elements with gears in a wheel. He illustrated the whole mechanism, but it ends when Ian compares it to the routine method of body training, where they train different muscles on different days. It was not even a close explanation, so Hadar left the topic. Ian hugged Hader and wanted to do training together, but Hader did not seem to be pleased. They had a special class the next day. They were all standing in the training center, and the class was magic combat practice. The teacher said that everyone would pair up, and for 1 hour they would be doing a mock battle. That day, the teacher decided to conduct a combat proficiency assessment to determine those pairs. The criteria of the assessment was defensive capabilities, so she asked who took the creative exam or those with unmeasured offensive capabilities to take the assessment. She wanted to start the process with the special student, Hadar. Ian and Cecilia were excited to see Hadar doing a battle, and Jasmine was also near them. Hader noticed them, and he didn't want Jasmine to watch how awkward he was. Ian said that Hadar had the power to create adamantite from thin air, and they were looking forward to watching the things he would do this time. Hader noticed Cecilia and Ian to be very excited, and Jasmine found the two very noisy. The teacher asked Hadar to focus on defending against her magic, and said that she would increase the intensity gradually. Hadar was calculating to give a try to his magic nullification theory, but the teacher started with a big one. He was shocked at first, but had no option other than using his technique. He activated the reverse phase magic, and the teacher was waiting to see if he would succeed. The teacher was shocked when her magic didn't work, but in reality Hadar was successful in nullifying her magic. She wondered if she was dealing with a monstrous student, and Hadar was shocked. He was also relieved that his hypothesis worked, and Ian and Cecilia watched him. They were excited to know what Hadar did again to blow everyone's mind. Jasmine said that Hadar might have done something amazing that they probably couldn't comprehend, and Ian agreed. Hadar was nervous to see the three teaming up. The teacher was then ready for the second round, and Hadar said he was not sure if he would be able to defend that time. But, this time too, her magic was nullified, which made her frustrated. She said sorry for creating troubles to the students and was crying, and also she announced her resignation. The three students told Hadar that he made the teacher cry. Hadar felt bad and asked the professor not to quit, but she said that they would not learn anything from her, who can't handle magic. Hadar tried to explain how it was not her fault, but how he was interfering with the activation of magic. The professor angrily asked why Hadar was being mean to her, and Hadar said sorry. She asked when she asked him to do it and how he could do that. Hadar explained how he read that in a book and tried. The teacher thought it was impossible and unsafe for a boy of his age to do such things, but later she wondered how he managed to interfere in no time. According to her, it should take longer to activate, but Hadar actually had figured out how to do it a bit differently. He explained how it was not interference, but a magical element of opposite phase to neutralize the magic of attackers. He thought the magic was not great, but the teacher said that it was a big deal. For the assessment, the teacher measured Hadar to be bottomless, but Hadar found the measurement too loose. Ian and Cecilia said that everyone should get used to the intelligence of Hadar. Jasmine asked if the two had enjoyed that show and praised Hadar again. Hadar said that he still had too much to learn. Jasmine interrupted him and asked why he was using formal language with her. Hadar said he would not do it further in response. Cecilia was watching them talking, and she didn't know why it was bothering her. The teacher was then ready to take measurements of the other students, but suddenly a feather fell in her hand. After noticing it, she was scared and panicked. Hadar asked what was wrong, and she said that the feather was of Griffin. It was a chimera-type monster with the upper body of an eagle and lower body of a lion. She said that A-rank adventurers would find it challenging to subdue that creature, but hoped that Griffin was flying high in the sky. Unfortunately, the Griffin was landing there, and the teacher announced an emergency. She suspended the mock battle and simulated combat. The teacher asked everyone to be careful as the creature could make them over. The monster said that he would not leave again. Ian said that if everyone held it right, they would become prey to that monster soon. Jasmine couldn't believe that she probably would be in the harem next. The teacher warned everyone that if the Griffin caught them, it would be over. The students panicked and asked if they were prey. Hadar told them that they would have to take that monster down before he could grab them. The teacher wondered if Hadar was smart or just dumb at that moment. The monster was chasing, and the teacher asked everyone to avoid it at all costs. Everyone tried to do so, but they realized that it grabbed Jasmine. Griffin was not only strong, but also intelligent. He created panic and targeted the weak and vulnerable as their nourishment. Hadar thought that he would easily defeat the Griffin, but he feared that he might harm Jasmine in the process. He calculated that he could get as close as he wanted with flight magic, and wanted to avoid expanding magical energy as much as possible. Suddenly, he got an idea and asked Ian if he had the gravity manipulation device. Ian had it, and Hadar wanted to lend it. Hadar was about to set the gravity reduction to maximum output and asked Ian to throw him towards the Griffin so that he can preserve magic. Ian freaked out and didn't know how it would work, but Hadar said they didn't have time and only Ian was able to do so. Hadar requested Ian to throw him again to save Jasmine, and he did it ultimately. The teacher was watching Hadar going to the sky and didn't understand his plan. Cecilia said that Hadar was smart and crazy at the same time. Hadar was at a distance from where he would not harm Jasmine. He pierced through the dragon flash, and Jasmine couldn't figure out what had happened. In no time, she was in Hadar's arm, and he asked if she was hurt. Jasmine asked how he got here, and Hadar explained it to her. Jasmine wondered if he was really a human or not at that point. The griffin was hurt, but was still moving. Hadar thought that he went easy on that griffin previously and decided to finish it that time. He used a rapid-fire dragon flash to kill it off, and everyone was amazed with that. Hadar was holding Jasmine and said that he would not be able to face her father if anything would have happened to her. They landed on the ground, and everyone was relieved to see them safe. The teacher hugged the two and praised how Hadar did it. She said that she had some questions to ask Hadar, but for that moment, she was just glad to see them safe. The professor also apologized for her incompetence and promised to protect them in future. The teacher then moved to Hadar and expressed her willingness to award him all the credits for all compulsory courses, including combat-related magic. She was ready to discuss it with the principal. Hadar didn't understand the meaning, so the teacher said that she had nothing to teach him. She also asked Hadar to train her so that she can protect her students in future attacks like that. She wanted to be prepared for a situation like that, and sought guidance from Hadar. Cecilia and Ian also said that they would rely on Hadar for their practice. Hadar was clueless about their appreciation and asked how the two became friends. The professor asked everyone to take rest before the next class, and took the responsibility to take care of the aftermath of the griffin. Jasmine then thanked Hadar for saving her life, but he asked her not to call a lifesaver. She said that she didn't know how to thank him enough, but Hadar proposed to become friends instead. It embarrassed Jasmine as she was planning to give hands for friendship as well. She asked Hadar to let her know if anything she could ever do and was ready to help him with money too. Hadar thought that Jasmine was behaving like the president, and he didn't understand why she was doing so much for a small thing. Jasmine pulled him to the hall in the next moment. In the next class, a new professor came in. He said that he had heard about the incident from Ciel. He considered it to be luck in the midst of fortune that No was hurt. He was then ready to proceed with the lesson as well. Hadar considered him to be a laid-back teacher. The teacher then asked the students to try to make a crystal using the magic circle in the textbook as reference. While the teacher was not even finished talking, Hadar made the crystal. His friends were once again amused. Jasmine said that Hadar was really impatient, and Hadar asked if he did something wrong. They suddenly noticed that Ian was busy training his muscles instead of drawing circles. He said he was bad at drawing and was not interested in doing that. Jasmine then asked Cecilia if she had a hard time between Hadar, a super intelligent student, and Ian, the first prince with passion for strength training. Cecilia was flattered with the kindness and started appreciating Jasmine for being an understanding friend. Jasmine offered to help each other, and the new friendship made Hadar a bit nervous. In the night, there was a large party arranged for the newcomers. The buffet looked delicious, and the upper body of Griffin was displayed in the hall. Hadar didn't know why they had done it, and he felt hard to eat with that. Ian was so happy to eat the paradise of proteins they were offered. The teacher, Ciel, was also there, and she never expected griffin meat to be on that menu. Hadar asked if she didn't like those, but she said that griffin meat was actually a luxury. She was wondering if she deserved that, but Ian asked her to eat some. Since the prince told her, Ciel decided to eat it. Hadar then thanked Ian for helping him in the combat, and Ian asked about the next plans. Hadar could not understand at first, but Ian was mentioning about Jasmine. He asked if Hadar had some motives to put himself at risk to help Jasmine. Hadar clearly declined any possibility, but Jasmine heard their conversation. She asked if they were talking about her, and Hadar freaked out. This made Jasmine believe that they were actually talking about her, but Hadar tried to decline it. Ian then told them how Hadar was amazing to him since the time they met. Jasmine said that it was because Hadar performed miracles as naturally as breathing. Hadar cut their conversation and said that he was the one who should be talking about miracles. He explained how he was raised alone in the mountains with his mom. He was lonely in that academy after being separated from his mother, but he was able to make friends there. He expressed how he was enjoying every day with them and considered it to be a miracle more than any magic. He thanked everyone for being friends with him. Jasmine and Ian were trembling after hearing all these, and both of them were embarrassed. Hadar freaked out and asked if he had said something strange again. Ian suddenly asked Jasmine if the flush on her face was because of what Hadar had said. Jasmine asked what he meant, and the two started whispering. After it, Jasmine bursted on Ian and called Ian an idiot. Hadar was clueless about what the two whispered. Jasmine said that even though Ian was the first prince and a musclehead, he didn't have any delicacy. Ian defended himself by saying that falling in love would make life more interesting. The two, Jasmine and Ian, started fighting, which Hadar was not able to stop. Hadar, with no other options left, called Cecilia to interrupt. It was the time they realized they had not seen Cecilia for a while. Hadar wondered where she was and started looking for her. In the next scene, we see Cecilia was hiding under something and was in some pain and fear. On the other side, Jasmine told Ian angrily that she was going to be the first wife. After the school meeting was over, Hadar and Cecilia was talking. She asked if Hadar was also anxious about the future. Hadar had something serious that he wanted to discuss. Cecilia asked if he was being sarcastic, but Hadar said that he didn't know what he wanted to in the future. He explained how Ian and Jasmine had their futures figured out. Cecilia said that those two were exceptions and told him that Hadar could become anything he would want to. She suggested him to try different things until he found something that he liked. She had an idea for him to try. Both of them went to a hall. Someone announced that some people would do an administrative course where they would manage potion orders and other related tasks. Another was a practical course where they would perform treatments for mild cases. Students were asked to choose one for experiencing, but they also mentioned how only limited participants would be selected for the practical course. They said they would only select who had already mastered healing. Hadar decided to choose do enroll in the practical work. In the joining time, he noticed that Cecilia also chose that stream. She asked why he was there, and Hadar said that the teacher recommended him that career path. He was happy to have his friend in the work, but Cecilia seemed anxious. She was concerned that she would be compared to Hadar and would never get noticed. Hadar asked if she didn't want him there, and said that he would transfer to the administrative course then. Inside the church treatment booth, the two were waiting for the announcements. They were said to perform the treatments on the patient, but asked only to handle mild cases. The nun explained how the symptoms would vary widely, including stomach pain, cough, and scrapes. She also said that if they could keep calm, it would not cause any major problems. They were asked to consult with attendant if any problem arises. Cecilia called Hadar and said that both of them would do their bests. Hadar was happy to see her motivated, and she said that she was aiming for a job offer. When they approached a patient, he appreciated the look of Cecilia and was happy to get treatment from her. Suddenly she mentioned how he was the first patient of her, and it made that old man freaked out. The attendant asked him to keep calm, and Cecilia mentioned that she would select the effective magic with pinpoint accuracy to his symptoms. She then asked him about the symptoms, and she warned Hadar to choose words wisely. Hadar thought that if they use magic with pinpoint accuracy, there would be a problem if there were treatment omissions. He came up with a good idea to combat this and casted some spells. The patient thanked the intern and expressed how his knee felt a lot better. Hadar wanted to ask if there was any other concern, but the patient was also felt like his eyesight was getting better. Cecilia was shocked, and the patient continued telling how his sprain and scrapes healed. Rintus also gotten better, and skin had also cleared up. There was a lot of miracles, and she asked Hadar about it. Cecilia noticed that Hadar was using a spell called Perfect Heal, and it was supposed to be an advanced magic. She told Hadar that it was not a spell to use on minor issues, but Hadar said there was no such rules. He said that it was universally effective, and everyone was fine, and Cecilia termed it as indiscriminate use of higher spell. She said that even though the patients were recovering without any issues, the staff members seemed to lost words. Hadar said that the magic was effective, and he also checked any overlooked symptoms after casting. Cecilia mentioned how he was doing that in wrong order, but also understood why he was doing that. She asked if he was tired after curing so much patient, but he seemed fine. Hadar explained how his natural recovery mana rate was about the same as mana consumption, and told her that he almost had full mana. Cecilia didn't understand about the mana thing, but she accepted it because it was Hadar. She then asked him to start understanding the perspective of ordinary people, which made Hadar furious. He said that he was also an ordinary person, but Cecilia didn't accept it. She said how any ordinary person could not use Perfect Heal indiscriminately like that. Hadar said that there might be some people who can do that. The screamings took attention of one of the nun. She reminded them that they were in work, and both of them apologized. Cecilia suggested to do their best in the remaining time, and Hadar was ready to use Perfect Heal. Suddenly Cecilia started trembling and fell on the floor. Hadar asked if she was okay, but she said that she was suffering from a headache. She asked Hadar not to worry about, as it was usual for her, all the time. Even tough she said so. It seemed like she was suffering an intense pain and was screaming like her head would explode. The attendant nuns heard it, and they also got furious. Hadar explained how they were about to return to work, and Cecilia crouched down. The nuns asked him to leave and was ready to use the strongest healing magic on her. They casted High Heal Vasoko Construction, but it was of no use. The nun said that it was out of control and felt bad. Hadar then decided to take the lead as he couldn't stand by silently. He used Perfect Heal on her, and everyone was shocked. Hadar asked if she was okay, and Cecilia said thanks to him. But it seemed like that was only a makeshift solution, as she started feeling sick again in no time. He calculated that if Perfect Heal spell was unable to cure her, it could be a cluster headache. It was also known as suicide headaches due to the intense pain. They tend to occur suddenly and can start and stop unexpectedly. Hadar still knew one cure for that deadly headache, which he decided to cast. He started casting the spell, and the nun was surprised to see those magic circles. It was once constructed by the ritual, but had only 1 out of 3 chance of successful activation. In exchange of tremendous cost and magic power, it had the power to nullify the damage status of the targeted patient. The spell was called Ultimate Healing, and it actually cured Cecilia. She was hugging Hadar and told him how her pain was fading away. He asked Cecilia if she was feeling better, and she agreed. The nun could not believe what had happened, and how he could handle an absolute heal. They all bow down for saving them from mistake, since healing was their responsibility. Hadar asked them to raise heads and said that he just wanted to help Cecilia. He was also sorry for overstepping the authority, but the nun was shocked that he didn't blame them. The head nun said that Hadar might be an incarnation of God, and Cecilia also agreed. It made Hadar nervous, and asked her not to agree. After the internship, Hadar and Cecilia was returning. Cecilia was holding some money, was happy with the reward. She noticed that Hadar was holding some healing exam questions, and asked why. He explained how he was told to take the exam. Cecilia said that he would get an extra reward as an healer if he passed the exam. She also mentioned how it would be a breeze for him. Cecilia then asked for forgiveness for everything that had happened. Hadar again freaked out as he thought he did something wrong. Cecilia explained how she was teasing him and ended up into an argument. She said that it was the first time in a while when they had been alone together, and she might have gotten a bit carried away. She also showed her gratitudes for saving her from the cluster headache. She said that every day she used to live in fear, wondering what would happen again, even when she felt normal. It was like a dream for her to be cured. She said how she joined the internship just to help people who were also suffering like her, but Hadar ended up being the most helpful. Hader asked if that was why she saved his life, but Cecilia couldn't understand what he meant. Hader then reminded her how she helped her during the entrance exam when he was struggling. Cecilia said that she couldn't leave him alone at that time. Hader suddenly felt that he was being teased from that day, but Cecilia jokingly said that it was his imagination. Hadar then said how glad he was to help Cecilia as she was a special person to him. Her eyes sparkled when she heard those words. Hadar then said that it was special to have first friend, which crushed her hope. She asked him not to tell misleading things. Hadar was not able to understand what she meant and asked if he had said something weird. Cecilia wondered why do he keep telling the word special. She said that Hadar was also very special to her, but it was in a different way. She hoped to convey her feelings to him someday, and it felt nice. Her face turned red while imagining the day, but Hadar thought that she was sick again. He asked why her face turned red, and Cecilia said that it was because of him. Hadar freaked out and asked if he did miss something to cure, but Cecilia told him that there are some sickness that couldn't be healed. Hader, being clueless, hoped to have cure of it anytime soon.